Well, is everybody eating good? Is the food all right? LJ, you're not eating? You already ate? You could have. No, okay. So, you know what I love about days like today? Food. I do like the food. But what I love about days like today is you get to find out really interesting information when you sit down and talk to people while they're eating. Juanita just told our table that she's getting married on her birthday. Yeah. I asked her who she's getting married to. She said, I don't know. So, it's a great New Year's resolution, though. When is your birthday, Juanita? June 29th? You got 6 months. That means find a guy. You and Wanda's birthday is the same? Hey, Billy. Hey, Billy, when's your birthday? You did what? Here, hold on just a second. Say that again.
It's Sonic.
It's your birthday is Sonic? Sweet. I like Sonic. So Juanita's getting married on June 29th this year. Oh, okay. Never mind. No, she's not. Yeah. Oh, hold on. It's not time for questions yet. God is your man? Amen to that. He's my man too. Man, oh man. I don't know where to go from there. I'm trying to. I just can't figure out where to go from there. I'm at a loss for words, Juanita. Congratulations. You stumped me. It doesn't happen a lot. How many of you are enjoying this morning so far? So good. Good way to start the year. Good way. How many of you stayed up until midnight on New Year's Eve? Good for all of you. I'm part of a text thread where the people on there were texting at midnight, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. At 8 o'clock the next morning, I wrote, Happy New Year. As you can tell, I did not stay up until midnight. I fell asleep at 10:30. To be fair, though, we had kids over at our house the night before all night long, and so we were exhausted. I watched Tombstone during that. Guys, Tombstone? Yeah. Ladies, Tombstone? Yeah. Kurt Russell with the mustache? Yeah. That dude is a tasty dish. So my new year has started off very well. I showed up here at 7:30 this morning to make sure this room is nice and warm. Does it feel warm to you guys this morning? We good? Yeah. But when I showed up this morning, hey, Matt, you want to pull up those pictures? Hey, Justin, stop talking to my guy. I know you're back in town and I know you're visiting. I will kill you. Your mom and dad will agree. So I woke up, I walked in here this morning. I don't know if you could see those pictures real well, but those back 4 ceiling tiles right at the entryway of the sanctuary were knocked down. Here, go to the next one. Yeah, look at that. It was nice and messy. Go to the next one. Yeah, that's awesome. You guys want to know what did it? Yeah, you see that right there? If you couldn't see that, how about that one? There's a nice big raccoon paw. So what we're going to be talking about in a little bit is all the more reason why we need to do this quicker. Because as much as you guys are invading this space, I think we're starting to get outnumbered. So if you don't like raccoons, if you don't like sharing space with vermin, this is definitely not the building to be in. We're like one step away from having to get a license to be a petting zoo. So many animals in this place. Oh, and also, if this wasn't good enough for you, Matt, show everyone who cooked for our people today. Yeah, there we go. You got Superman and Wonder Woman. Isn't he pretty? If you ever wondered why. You were never prettier than this morning cooking pancakes. Don't tell him, tell Jeff. His were awful. Jeff did.
He made a mistake.
Juanita, Jeff cooked the pancakes. Jason's weren't the good ones, though. Food is food. Food is food. So yeah, that's how our this is how our New Year as a church began. So how many of you watched the devotionals this week? Devotional folks this week? You watched the devotionals? Good. How many of you remember what I preached about last Sunday? What I preach about? I preached. Yeah, I know. Huh? Your man. Yeah, your man. Yeah, I preached about Jesus, yeah. That's always the right answer. Thanks, Jason, for that. Anybody else remember what I preached about last Sunday? Jeremiah 29:11. And what does God have for us? Plans. And what kind of plans are they? They're good plans, that's right. And in the devotionals this week, we talked about what? Those plans are good, but there are plans, but they're eternal plans, right? God's plans for us are eternal plans. They're not just plans for today or for tomorrow or next week or this year. God's plans for us are eternal plans. And so if God has eternal plans for us, that means that we have to be living with an eternal mindset, correct? So with that eternal mindset, everything that we do, we have to be thinking about eternity and about bringing people to eternity. And so that'll bring us to this in just a few moments. But to let you guys know a couple of things, I'm very proud of our staff. Our staff has been planning all month for, more than just this month, but really a lot this month for the next several months. So starting next week, you guys will start seeing events and calendar stuff rolling out from January all the way through May. Children's department. This is let's talk about this morning first. This morning is so amazing. So I sent out text messages a week ago, something like that, to about 36 different people. And so just so you know, it took about 36 to 40 people, and a couple of extras showed up this morning, to make something like this happen, from people cooking, for people making drinks, for people sweeping off the steps out front, people setting up the tables, people who are going to be helping clean up and tearing down the tables and all that stuff. So I wanted to thank you all for everyone who has helped with this. That's made this very, very awesome. And that's one of the great things about New Day. New Day, we are never in short supply of help. For instance, I've been putting together the kids' stuff, which I'm in the process of looking for a children's pastor right now. So I've been the one that has been putting together the kids' stuff. I counted yesterday, 43 different people between now and May will be helping work upstairs in the children's department. 43 different people. That's absolutely amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Youth ministry stuff is a lot the same way. There won't be as many people, but there will be a lot of helpers helping out with youth ministry stuff. Teens, I am in the process of talking to 2 or 3 different places about our lock-in on April 1st. If one of those places turns out, we may not ever come back to the church that night. We may just stay there all night long. So that'll be fun, just so you guys know. So we're planning that lock-in already, and that thing is going to be epic. So if you guys are interested in coming to a lock-in and staying up all night with me and Jared and the teens, come on down. Bring it on. Bring it on. So that leads me to building. And it takes us to this idea of building something eternal. Now, whenever you are going through a program like this and you are trying to figure out how all this stuff is going to go, literally these 2 pieces of core plast, I think is what this is, that are sitting on each side of me, it looks great. I'm very excited, and it looks outstanding. But this is a lot of hard work by a lot of people over several years. And so when we look at these kind of things, it's easy to go, oh, it's a really beautiful looking building and a really nice layout. And for there are so many people that I need to think for that, and I want to think for that, and I will think for that at some point in time. But there's just many years and many hours of planning that have gone into this. Many tears, a lot of prayers, just really great work done by all of you, and done by your church board and your staff. And so you guys have a lot to be thankful for. You guys have a lot to be blessed with. And so with these plans, though, the other day, I realized that we kind of dropped this on you on the 5th, and then you guys had some good questions. But I wanted to give you guys opportunity to ask more questions now that a month has passed, almost a month has passed. You guys have had time to think about this. You guys have had time to talk about this with your family and with other people in the church. And I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. I have several people here that will be able to answer some of these questions better than I. So like when it comes to like dirt work and that kind of stuff, I'll be directing those questions to Jerry. When it comes to the blueprint stuff, I'll be directing those questions to Bill. When it comes to finance stuff, I'll be directing those questions to Jeff. And so if you guys have any questions, now would be a good time to ask those. And Jeff Moore is at the back with the microphone if you would like to grab a mic and ask questions. And if you don't have any questions, we'll just keep eating and celebrate the fact that you have just given me permission to do what we want to do.
Does that get a new church?
Say what?
Does that get a new church?
Does this get us a new church?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this is the new church that we're going to be building. Is it pretty cool looking? You like it? Do you know where the children's department is? It's right here. Children's department's that hallway right there. In this big room right here, that's the kids' worship area. Yeah, there we go. There we go. What was that? Yeah, so the different colors are phases. So the purple on the far left is, that's phase 4. And we'll talk about that at a later time. The white, everything in white is phase 1. That's everything that we're hoping that we're going to be able to do right away. So once the shell goes up, once the foundation and plumbing is laid and the shell goes up, we're really hoping the loan that we're going to be able to take out from the bank will cover the foundation, plumbing, and everything that you see in white. Everything that's in blue is phase 2. So basically everything that in blue is another big bathroom, a youth pastor's office, a youth game room, a youth worship area, and the kitchen. And really, yellow is phase 3. The yellow up in the top up here is the gym, and that'll actually be that'll be part of phase 1, because initially we'll have the concrete floor and we'll paint the lines on the concrete floor and put up some basketball goals. So that'll be part of phase 1 as well. So the real phase 3 is that far left side where it's yellow. Those are all adult Sunday school classrooms. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. This one right here is set up as a classroom, but it's such a funny shape. That's going to be a nice storage closet. When are we starting? That's a great question. So a couple of things have to take place. Well, more than a couple. I'm going to try to lay this out the best way I can think. Now, as far as dirt work goes, do you want to maybe answer some of that? Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so on the dirt work, a whole bunch of stuff is going to happen, and I'd like you to look to your left on that particular illustration, and you're going to see the second picture from the bottom has a slope to it that slopes down to the left. in the last quarter of the building. Okay, the assumption that the architect was making was that left of that thing is the storage facility spot. Okay, and they're kind of down in a hole. We're planning on putting this thing down in the bottom of the water flow, bottom of the creek. Does everybody know where the sanitary sewer manhole is? Have you seen it out there? Kind of down in the, okay. It's probably wasn't the highlight of your visit to the property. But when we were out there doing our church services, where the stage was set up, it was immediately behind that stage or to the north of the stage. And it's off of the fence. I'm going to do some crazy wild guesses and saying maybe 20 feet. Okay? We can't build on top of that because if anything bad were to happen to the sanitary sewer, the city would want to dig it up and do some fixing. And in order to do that, everything from the beginning of that slant back would have to be removed so that they could gain access to it.
Which would be basically those top 2 Sunday school classrooms and a little bit over from it.
And the gym, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide the whole building to the west so that we're not anywhere near that sanitary sewer manhole. Now we're going to have to raise that manhole. You're starting to get an idea of some timelines. I've got to get a hold of a sewer line contractor, and I've got lots of friends because I'm on the Oklahoma Municipal Contractors Board of Directors, so I'm surrounded by these guys. And what they need to do is they need to get us a quick permit and raise that thing about 6 feet or so. Okay? Step one. As soon as that's, and we wouldn't have to wait for them to do that for the stuff I'm going to start doing, but at some point that has to be done because I'm going to make a pretty chisel-sharp grade from the edge of our property, probably 4 or 5 feet off of the fence, and go up pretty sharply to what I believe to be about a 6-foot tall fill. Okay, so it's going to slope up and to the west. And we're going to put some sod on it so we don't have any erosion issues. But that moves the whole building away from that sewer line. Sewer line's going to be directly behind the building. I just don't know which angle it's running at yet to be able to say we've got to move X number of feet. But that was one of the things we ran into when we looked at it. Now,
to give before you move on, to give everybody some perspective of what that would look like. So when Jerry's talking about 6 feet, that's pretty substantial. So if you think about where that ground is out there in that low spot, when you go 6 feet, you're talking about Jerry's height, okay? And now imagine that all the way across the property, and then put a 30-foot building on top of it. So this building is going to be sitting extremely high. It's going to have a presence to it. And so it's not going to be like if you've pictured putting a building on where the ground is now. That's not at all what we're talking about. It's going to be up really high. It'll look hot. It'll look a lot different.
Yeah, we won't be down in the valley. We have to do that because the natural flow of the water is going to come. If you continued looking west, there's a bunch of trees, and the reason trees are there is because there's water, and the reason there's water is because that's the ditch, the flow line for anything coming off of. Is that Morgan or Mustang? Mustang Road? Anything coming off of Mustang Road either goes around to the north behind us or it comes across that land and drops in. And that's what's feeding all those trees. So we're going to raise this thing up, and any water flow will actually kind of work around us to the north. And we're going to try and encourage it to do that. But we've also got the oil field tanks up there. And so somewhere between the oil field tanks and our north edge is where I'm going to be setting some kind of a flow line to get the water to go off of our property. Did I lose anybody? Okay.
And so that's just one area. The other area is we have to operate with the district advisory board. And so the way that will work is at the process right now, and Jerry, if you want to pass this mic to Bill, and I'll let Bill talk to you guys about where we're at in the process with this. So the way it works is I can't, right now I have an appointment set up with the district advisory board this month, whenever they meet this month. But we have to have blueprints and we have to have a loan amount. Yes, sir.
Before we move on to that, when will we start the permit process, Jerry?
The permit for that sanitary sewer, I'm going to do at our next board meeting, which is coming up pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to gather around a couple of those water line, sewer line guys, find out who's feeling benevolent.
Perfect.
Ray, you had your hand up, Ray.
Is our filter coming from what we already have, or are we gonna bring filter in?
We don't know the condition of the dirt that's there. I'm making some assumptions that it's been in the flow line for however many years that property's been there. And so it's probably a bunch of silt. And we're gonna have to dig that stuff out and stockpile it. And just basically keep going till I get to what they call select in the industry, but it's very stable. You know, we'll compact that. And then the dirt comes from another benevolent benefactor who can identify himself if he wants to, and his lovely wife who will have a lake big enough to turn a sailboat around there.
And I would like to fish on that lake.
And whoever's going right, Brad, right for your hit.
So with the district advisory board, what we have to do is we have to have blueprints and we have to have a footprint, which is what we got here. And then we have to have the loan amount. Now, the loan amount, we've been working with a banker, and that loan amount is pretty much set, but we can't technically set it until we have the blueprints. And so once we have those things set, I will meet with the district advisory board, and if we're able to get advisory board approval, which I believe we will, because we fall within all the areas that are laid out to us financially and otherwise. And once we get that, then we will come to you guys, and I will announce 2 Sundays ahead of time that we will be taking a church vote to approve the plan of moving forward. And once we have the advisory board voted and the church has voted, we will then be able to hit the gas and go. But there's a lot of things that we are able to do, like what Jerry was talking about. There are a lot of things that we are able to do between now and then, getting permits and getting those kind of things happening. That way, whenever the time does come to go, we are able to go. So, Bill, talk to us about, sorry, Paul, you had your hand up back there. What'd you?
Yes, I was going to ask you, is our property going to be 6 foot higher than the building next door?
Yes, sir. Yes, not where it meets to the east, yes. Not where it meets the ground, because at the bottom of my slope will be at the same level.
So we're almost going to be level with the top part of it at this time.
They are right at 10 feet. That fence, I think, is at 8. And we're going to be 2 feet from the top of the fence, but we'll be far enough from the fence that you couldn't jump over us.
Or like roll a car into the... So Jerry, how many feet do you think that would be between the fence and where you're talking about going up?
It's all going to depend upon the exact location of the sanitary sewer
Right.
hole and the sewer line, so that I can have the proper
Right.
clearance for the right of way. But I mean, if I'm guessing without facts, I'm guessing that we will probably be matching their grade about 8 feet, and that's where we begin our slope up.
Yeah. Okay.
So ideally, because there's more, we've got a fire plug that is right back there, behind, on that east edge of the property, basically right in that same area. And that's what the fire department needs to hook onto in order to service our building without us spending a whole bunch of money to locate another fire connection.
Right.
And so there are certain parameters that the fire trucks have to have for accessing that, being able to turn their truck around.
And getting out.
And, I want to say that that's probably a 40-foot radius. And so we could be as much as 80 feet, but I think that's going to fit, if you look at the drawing on the right, in that notched out section, I think that radius is going to fit there for the fire truck.
Okay.
So we won't be without parking lot.
Bill, we'll get to you in a second. Parker, you have your hand up, buddy. What's up?
In future phases, will we be able to have multiple levels,
Like a second story? We're not planning for that right now because there's so much room in this one. This one is we're right at 25,000 square feet pretty much. And so you guys will understand why we're not doing that when we move in there, because that is such a big building. It's very big. So there'll be plenty of room to grow within that. And then the phase 4 part of it, that will also be another reason why we'll never need that second story. Yes, sir, Jim?
Probably this is directed to Jerry. If our friends or your friends are not feeling benevolent, will that be an issue?
No, we're prepared to write a check to be able to get that moving. And to raise, what they do is they basically take off the ring and they take off the slope portion of the sanitary sewer manhole till they get to the kind of the silo thing, and they raise it from there. We're talking about 5 feet worth of brickwork that goes in circles, a couple of ladders, and then you put the other pieces on top. If that costs me $5,000 or $6,000, I'll be surprised.
Bill, so talking about the blueprint stuff, and talk to us a little bit about where we are in the process with our architect, and give us kind of a timeline, since that last meeting that we had with him, was that a month ago or so? And then he was able to work this stuff up for us between that time, because we did make a few changes from the original that's back there on the wall to this. We added a couple of bathrooms here. We just changed a few little things and tinkered, but kind of let us know where we're at and what we've been working on there.
Yeah, did I not say something? There we go. Got a green light. Yeah, the architect's been busy, and he's accommodating us. He's got a full-time job, so he's accommodating us on his free time. The advantage to that is he's not charging us a full rate like most architects would do. So this is his latest iteration, and now we have turned him loose to create blueprints, and he's already begun to do some blueprint work. That's going to take another at least month to 6 weeks before he has blueprints. That doesn't hold Jerry up. He can still move forward with all he's got to do. Let me just say a word about timing from the big picture, too. We are, in a sense, at the mercy of the company that's donating this building, because they're not ready for it to be torn down yet. They're still acquiring property around it, as we mentioned earlier. So we don't know when they're going to give us the thumbs up and the green light. That could be a couple months. It could be 6 months. We really don't know. I think it'll be quicker than that. But obviously, if you've been trying to absorb all this, we've got a lot of work to do before we're ready to. Everything has to be in place before the building is moved, okay? So conceivably, we could do all the dirt work, we could do the concrete work, the plumbing has to be subbed in before concrete's done, of course. Electrical, there's a whole lot of work that has to be done before the building's moved. But I wanted to tell you guys, just give you some things to think about. Why this building and this property is a unique blessing from God for this church and this time. And I talked to Chase a little bit about this a while back, but just thinking about all the things that had to fall into place and have to fall into place. Timing is one of those. If the building, if we acquired the building and it had a short timeline, somebody says, hey, you can have the building, well, we got to have it out in a month or 60 days. We couldn't get ready. We don't have time to do all that. But then thinking back further, think about this property. Think about the 6 acres that we were gifted on this property. In a sense, it is the least desirable part of that property, okay? It's not the prime corner spot. We really didn't need that. But it's got this slope. A good portion of it is low and has to be built up. And it doesn't hold value to a lot of people, a lot of potential buyers, but it does to New Day because of Jerry. Because we've got a guy that can handle all that dirt work and is willing to donate his time and his equipment. That is just an incredible fact that we can't overlook. On top of that, he's got the ability to do the dirt work. He's willing to do the dirt work, but where's he going to get the dirt? Well, we've got a free source for dirt. You're looking at maybe a couple $100,000, Jerry, or at least 100 to go out and buy that. And that's an obstacle to a lot of buyers. But God has blessed us with a source of free dirt. And there's just item after item that falls into place and makes this unique for us and for this time. And so it's going to require some patience on our part, a lot of prayer. This wouldn't work, I've told you before, if we didn't find a contractor. What good does it do to have a building given to you if you don't have somebody that can liquidate the value that we see there? Not everybody can do that, but he says, I can because I've got people that are willing to buy that building. And I've contacted people. There's at least one other church, maybe a couple other churches that we may be able to bless with our excess material and help the contractor out to make this deal work for him. It's just an incredible collision of opportunities that only God can work out. And he still has some things to work out. So I told you before, keep praying for all these pieces to fall into place. But what an incredible journey. We just can't miss this fact that God has brought us to this point and blessed us in an incredible way. And that gives us confidence for the future. Yeah, well, that was the other deal, is we started out talking about one building with the excess material going to the contractor to cheapen his labor to erect our building. And in the end, of course, we were given 2 buildings, which is a great blessing, but now the contractor has to get rid of about what was it, 50,000 square feet of building in order to recoup his expenses, but he's lining people up that are interested. Hallelujah.
For I know the plans I have for you. Yes.
Is there anything that we can do as a church to help get the property prepared for all?
Okay, so if you guys didn't hear that, is there anything that we can do as a church to get the property prepared for, I guess what you're talking about is like dirt work and, to get prepared to do all that stuff. Jerry, is there anything that we can do as a church to prepare for that?
If anybody has a use for the trees and would be willing to chop them up into pieces and get them out of there, we have the capability of loading them up on our dump trucks. The dump trucks I'm talking about are 18-wheelers, 40 feet long, that kind of stuff. So we can load them up on that thing, but then they got to go someplace. And so there's quite a bit of cottonwood.
There's a few others out there, but yeah, most of them are cottonwoods. But there's a few other little ones out there that have nice thick burrs and spikes and stuff on them. It's fun.
That has to go someplace.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, we can have men's work days out there and do that kind of stuff. But to go back to Bill's point too, one of the things that I wanted to point out to all of you too is it is a unique situation because they aren't prepared to let go of those buildings just yet. So it gives us time, which is wonderful, because in that time we're able to do all the things that we need to do and do them the right way. But that doesn't change either the fact that we want to be able to do something with those buildings when they are ready to let those buildings go. So the reason why we're really pushing to get this process started is because we want to have the dirt work, the slab, and the plumbing done. That way, if in 3 or 4 months from now they're like, okay, we're ready for these buildings to go, we don't have to take that building and put it out on the property and lay it there. We can take that building out there and set it up on the foundation and it be ready to get worked on in that way. The other blessing to this too is generally whenever you're doing stuff like this, you have to put in an order and then they have to cut the metal and they have to do all that stuff. That's not anything that we're going to have to do because the building's already in existence, it's already built. We're just going to have to make sure that it's tore down and we're moving it. But we want to make sure we have a place to put it. That's the thing that we're working on right now. So,
once our groundwork, literally and figuratively, is all done, including foundation, plumbing, electrical, everything's ready. They claim they can tear one building down to ours to start with in about 2 weeks, and they can erect it in about another 2 weeks.
So in a month's time, we could go from having slab and plumbing to having a building up.
That's if everything goes perfect.
That's if everything goes perfect. That's if the weather's good and there aren't any hiccups.
Count on 8 weeks to be safe, but that's still a short time.
Yeah, it's still a short period of time.
Yeah, that's a great point. And as Chase mentioned, all of these colored portions, the yellow and the blue, as I understand it, those will be open to us and usable as wide open spaces. They'll all have electricity. It'll all be sprinkled for fire safety, insulated. Pardon?
They'll have heat and air.
Yeah.
They'll have all that stuff in there, yeah.
So, yeah, we are at liberty, Daniel, to build out rooms as we want them to a certain extent.
So, for instance, Daniel, when we move in, if you look up on that screen, the whole youth area is part of phase 2. So if we're not able to do this part when we first move in, let's say, the kids will have an area, we'll have a sanctuary, we'll have a couple of adult Sunday school classrooms, and we'll have the church office. The teens will still be able to meet down here in the youth, where the youth area will be. It just won't have walls and...
I just meant in respects to like actually putting in the walls instead of paying a framing crew.
Oh, right.
How much of that will we be allowed to contribute to?
It all depends on permits and architect and engineer, right? I mean,
Well, keep in mind, too, that in a portion of this, we're going to have to run sheetrock firewalls all the way to the ceiling, all the way to the roof, which is 30 feet. So I don't know if you want to tackle
yeah, we're not
8-foot sheet of plywood on a 30
we're not talking about 10-foot ceilings. We're talking running drywall all the way up in certain spots. I mean, that's going to be a task.
But once we have that done, what an incredible opportunity to involve people and new people. And I mean, we'll draw out the floor plan on the floor with chalk or tape or something and invite people. You can contribute to build this room and this room and this room.
And there's a ton of stuff we're all going to be able to do together too. For instance, painting and all those kind of things are things that we'll be able to do together. So getting to paint. Hey, I wasn't done with that yet.
You ain't done with that yet. I'm finna watch that.
Okay, love you. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities, especially once that gets up, that we'll be able to work together. We'll be able to paint. There's all kinds of things that we're going to get to do. So, any other questions?
So this is cosmetic, I think, probably, but just looking forward,
The ceiling will not be falling down. Is that where you were going?
No.
Okay.
I'm glad I know that now. You mentioned that it was just keep concrete. I'm assuming that there's still open-mindedness to laying a special floor, not necessarily a wooden gym floor, but
Depending, yeah, because the main thing that we're wanting to try to do is we're wanting to not limit it to just like basketball. So we're going to want several different groups to be able to practice in there and be in there. So as long as the floor is versatile in that way, the other aspect of that would be cost as well. So because some of those can be pretty pricey, but just to begin with, we'll begin with concrete, just because it's the easiest way we can complete that area and include it into phase one. So
let's talk dirt.
oh wait, hold on, Jeff, you had your hand up. Yeah, sorry about that, Jerry.
Knowing there's not a drawing for this yet, but there were talks about we have to have access to the church from Mustang Road rather than Columbus Expressway.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as far as the size of the parking lot,
Yes.
any consideration as far as the size of the parking spaces for trucks or vans or anything such as that?
If you actually on that drawing back there at the back, you can kind of get an idea of what the parking lot will look like there. Now, I don't, as far as sizes of the spaces go, I don't know about that. I do know that based off of the number of people the building can occupy is based off of the number of parking spaces that we have to have in the parking lot. So, but Jerry, you could probably speak to that even better than I can. I mean, you know that stuff better than I do. So, do you want to answer that one and then talk to us about what you were going to talk to us about?
Well, if it means, do we know how to stripe? The answer is yes. And, you know, the whole layout, I don't even know what the parking lot's going to look like because I don't know where the building is yet. And that's going to have a big factor, and we're going to talk about that stuff. As soon as we locate the building, then we'll be chatting with our architect and saying, okay, now give us a parking space layout. And because we got to hit the numbers, we got to have a certain number of reserved parking areas for handicapped folks, and they have to be in a certain distance. And because we're building this thing up on a mountain, there has to be some ramps for accessibility and those kinds of things. So, but that's all pretty easy stuff. We do that with the dirt. What we don't know about, we don't know how many dollars that parking lot's going to cost. And you keep hearing the number $600,000, and you figure, and where in the heck is this number coming from? When Chase came down, Chase and Jared
Bill.
and was Bill there?
Or
Jeff.
Jeff. Yeah, Jeff was on the phone with us. Jeff was
Oh, yeah.
there.
Jeff did a phone thing. We were over at my conference room, and we had my banker kind of surrounded, and we were talking about commercial financing. And it turns out that, are you related to him, or you don't?
No, his grandpa and my grandpa, that guy, we're best friends.
Okay. And so God lines stuff up, doesn't he? I mean, how does that happen out of all the banks in the city or in the state? But anyway, we were talking about how much could we borrow. And we have a $600,000 commercial valued property at the time we got it. It's probably up from that number now. And we've got a building that, quite frankly, easily hits that $600,000 number. And typical bank financing is 80% loan to value. So we could borrow up to 80% of that number. So 1.2 million means, we qualify for $900,000 that we can borrow. Why 600? Because we can't write the check. $600,000, the payment on $600,000 is what we're presently paying for rent here, plus what we anticipate the utilities going up for all of the space we've got to heat and air condition. And the insurance that will go up because we're covering the building and contents and all of those kinds of things. And so, and this is a whole lot of what Jeff was playing with his crystal ball as well, but we looked at it and we said, we could write the check for the payment for $600,000. Okay, so what's that get us? It has to get us a parking lot, and then anything that's left over goes to measly things like heat and air and electrical, the concrete,
the slab, yeah,
for the floor inside that building and the foundations, and there was one more thing. The electrical, all the electricians' work,
plumbing,
the plumbing, and access of if we've got to put in another water line, and I'm hoping we do not. I'm hoping that we can design this in such a fashion that if that fire plug is located in the right place with the radius that can serve according to their rules, and where we have our sprinkler hookup, that we can get by without having to run another fire plug. Otherwise, that's between $12,000 and $15,000. So, after we're done, then we can do everything in the white section.
Hey, that is good.
But it's kind of scary because we don't know what those numbers are. We don't know the heat and air. We don't know the sprinkler hookup and some of those things. And I don't know that I can get you an answer yet. Now, one of the things Chase asked me just before the holidays was to have a guy give me an estimate for what it would cost to finish out that section. And he just lost his job. And he's a construction...
Not because of that.
No.
Not because of that. You need to clarify that. We didn't make him lose his job.
No, I need to clarify that. He was actually one of the superintendents that built our house. So he's got a little bit of experience, and my wife and his wife are the ones that worked on the tree together. So, and she donated all of that time and energy. So we must have their grandmother in our closet or something. But anyway, we've got access to some people that know some stuff. He just hasn't had the chance to look at it. Anyway, let's switch over to dirt because that's something we do know. So I can immediately begin digging out, getting good dirt, figuring out where all of this stuff is, and I can do a lot of that stuff without plans because I know the footprint of the building, and I'm going to figure out where we locate it, and after that, any grading that we'd have to do on the front end for approach, any grading that we've got to do for the parking lot, that's all stuff that we could do after the fact, but we can get the contractors started on running our sewer lines and our water lines. I don't think they put any electrical below the slab. That all goes overhead, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll have to find out. But any of the stuff, whenever you've seen a home built, they go through and they do all sorts of trenching and do all sorts of things before they pour that slab. And they do those stub outs where it comes up through the concrete, where bathrooms are going to be and those kinds of things. And all that's going to be able to be done after I get the dirt in, but probably not before we get drawings. I can do all the dirt stuff. Now, what did the bankers say? I talked about that it's all based on payment. He also said that when we close this thing, when you go to the title company and you do all that fun stuff, title companies want to see lien releases from anybody who's worked on it prior to this deal going down, which of course we will give and we'll have for the dirt, for the labor necessary to do all of that stuff, and for the sanitary sewer thing coming up. So all of those things will be done and in place before we ever get a loan. So we have those dollars available to do that stuff. But when does that start? It starts, like I said, as soon as I get those guys in and rolling. It'll probably start, weather permitting, in January, February. If it's freezing like it is now, we can't put dirt in and get proper compaction because, the soil, frozen soil doesn't compact, and then when it thaws, it gets mushy. So, but we'll work that through January, February. We'll try to be done with it well before the spring rains, and that way it's stabilized and it's good to go. And so you'll see things out there like those trees we were talking about. What we're going to do is bulldoze those so that I can get the big root balls to come up all at the same time, because I can't put dirt on or around organic material. It rots and collapses and does bad stuff. So that all has to come out. So if we cut the trees off, that would not help me. That hurts a lot.
Well, and to add to answer your question earlier too, something else we can be doing, and oftentimes we joke about this, but from your pastor, I sincerely mean this. You guys can be praying for good weather. That's something that you guys can be doing. Be praying for good weather, because that's a big part of this process, and will help it. Number one, will help it go smoother time-wise, but it'll also help it. It'll help Jerry and his crew do better work to make it more solid and to help. So be praying for good weather. Did I see a hand up back here? Paul, did you have a question? Jeff, do you want to answer that question?
That's something that Jerry, I think we had, was it 20 year? I think it's 20 year.
Yeah, it's 20. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not really locked in, but the numbers keep going down.
Yeah.
The numbers presently are going down.
Okay. And it's for 20 years. What we talked about with our banker is set up on a 20-year note.
Right.
Right. Did you say it's going up or down right now, Jerry?
It's going down.
It's going down right now?
We refinanced everything we had, and the bank basically came in and said, here, we want to do this for you. And so they cut all of our interest rates to 4%.
Okay.
And I had some that were 7s and 8s. And they walked in 2 weeks. It's commercial, but this is commercial as well.
Yeah, commercial, yeah.
Yeah. Commercial Finance walked in and said, here, we want to do this for you so that you don't leave. And they cut all of our rates. And it's the same banker. I mean, we're kind of tied to that. So,
yeah.
So we've got good numbers. But let's stay on the financing for just a second. You didn't ask me to do this. But I think I showed you how the $600,000, why that's a number. But we're all living in a little bit of concern for how things are going up, and that it might not go very far. And so I'm just going to say it just so you hear it. It's time to find $5 or $10 or $50 or $100 or whatever dollars per week that you can put building fund and write that silly check and throw it in here and let God have a shot at what he can do with it. Because I'm concerned that 600 grand won't go very far, because I've seen that building, I've walked through it, and you ought to see that cool tower that runs the sprinkler system. It's taller than I am and almost bigger around than I am, and that's saying something if you've seen me cast a shadow. I mean, this thing is massive. And so, I just looked at that and looked at what the logistics are of those guys hanging that thing, and that's not included, is it, Bill? Or is it? Included for putting in the sprinkler system and getting it certified with Williams?
The water tower.
I think they will not take it out, but if we can get it removed, they will reinstall it or some technicality.
Okay. But that's easily going to be another, $15,000 to $25,000. And
We also have to pay to shut the water off on that building.
that makes sense.
Connect whatever's connected.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of little odds and ends things like that.
So if you're writing a check and investing in that thing and the impact it's going to have on families that are over there, and I know of a number of them, one in particular that came and won a color TV when we were doing all of that stuff, a year ago, months ago, whatever it was. They're not going to church anywhere, but it's less than a mile from their house when we get there. So it'll be really convenient, and we've got kids that live in that neighborhood that can say nice things, and you know, we're going to reach and we're going to touch some people that aren't being reached. And so here's your big chance.
Awesome. Any other questions?
What do we know about the corner of that property?
I know next door to us is an Okie Express auto wash is supposed to be going in there. And whenever I met with Claude 3 weeks ago, that corner, it was going to be a Casey's, and now it's not going to be a Casey's. It was going to be something else, and now it's going to be a Casey's again, and now that's kind of up in the air. So that corner just kind of keeps going back and forth, and really, for him, the reason why that corner is so important is because it helps him finish out the plans for that section. And part of the plans for that section is building a road that goes from Mustang Road to all the way across to our church parking lot. Right. And so all of those things matter of where the road goes, when it goes in, all those kind of things. So, but right now the corner is just kind of in limbo. There's not really an answer for it. But right next door to us, like directly to the west, is going to be an Okie Express auto wash.
And that guy came to my office, he and some of his folks, and met with us. And we had some discussions about temporary easement for their erosion control that they've got to do to build it, which I told them that I wasn't too concerned about getting the church to say, absolutely, you can have your easement in order to do your erosion control mitigation. We'd be tickled to death, especially if you decide to locate the fire hydrant.
Amen.
That they need for their water access and their mainline water access on the far east edge of their property. And they said, well, you know, that had cost us a little bit of money to run their lines over to the car wash from there. And I said, as much as it would cost you to get an easement? And he said, I get you. So by locating the fire hydrant where I want it, it puts it in range of our building should I not have the entire thing covered with the fire hydrant in the back. So it was kind of like I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And I told them that the post-construction erosion control mitigation that he was going to have to spend, that I would write him a deal to take over his site plan on my DEQ permit so that he doesn't have to spend any of that money, and that'll be our responsibility because, quite frankly, we're going to disturb all of that ground when we do our stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So no additional real cost for us, and what I'm trying to do is negotiate a fire hydrant where I need a fire hydrant in order to take care of our building.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to have a word of prayer for us in just a second, but before I do that, and Juanita's kind of already helping us out with this, but if you guys could help, we need a couple of things done. Number one, we need to get everything kind of cleaned up in the kitchen and a couple of these dishes cleaned. Okay, yeah, well, I'm still asking people for help. Is that okay with you? No. Okay, shh, be quiet. All right, so I need you guys to help. You did what? I can't hear you. All right, so I need you guys to help. And what I need in here, the tables are coming down. Oh, Oh, Jeff is holding up buckets, and I'm going to be praying for offering in a second too. So the tables and chairs are going to be coming down. But what I need is I need all the chairs stacked and pushed against the walls. So these chairs along the walls, I need those stacked, and all the chairs out here I need stacked and pushed against the walls. And then the black table covers, just take those off the table and put them up here on the platform. And then I need people to roll the tables into the gym and just lean them against the wall next to the closet in the gym. Are we good there? Any questions about that? All right, I'm going to have a word of prayer for our offering. And before we go, let's do what Jerry was talking about a little bit ago and start giving to this process, because there's a lot that has to go into it. There's a lot that we have to do to get it done. And we can just see how God is just going to continue to work. Are we good with that? Let's have a word of prayer. Hey, Juanita, chill for a second. Heavenly Father, we love you. We thank you for today. We thank you for this wonderful church family, this group of people. God, I pray that you would bless this tithes and offerings and bless the rest of our time together this morning. We thank you, Father, for another year. We look forward to seeing all the things that you have for us moving forward. We look forward to all the things that you have in store for New Day this year. We love you, Jesus. In your name we pray. And all God's people said, amen, amen. You're dismissed whenever you're ready, but we could use some help if you want to stick around.
Then our minds could